When my coworker recommended me for the annual North Carolina pilgrimage for justice and peace, I was reluctant to accept. Who has time to take off from the everyday chores of life? After a couple days of pondering the idea and asking around about other people's experiences, I was intrigued. I decided to let this pilgrimage during Holy Week be my spiritual retreat. Every day we would begin our day with breakfast and silent prayer. Then we would start our walk accompanied by locals in each city. We often stopped at a church or organization and listened to stories of people who are affected by the issues displayed on the crosses we carried. At the end of the day, church people opened their homes to the core walkers, and we would do a foot washing ritual and reflect on the events of the day. The atmosphere of the pilgrimage was lively, reflective, and after walking for a long time, tiring. People of many different walks of life joined us, different ages, shapes, and colors. We were retired people, mothers, fathers, families, grandparents, students, and immigrants, undocumented and unafraid. We were a mobile community. Children would run up and down the caravan of people, playing games, finding hidden treasures along the trail, and singing songs of peace, love, and justice. All the while we were holding our signs, crosses, and sharing our stories and those of people who we were walking for. Every day, I put on my big, gaudy gold peace symbol earrings and chose the cross that I would hold for the day. Each of the 14 crosses lifted up different issues, like peace in Palestine, justice for farm workers, immigration reform, and love thy neighbor. As I held my cross and walked, I would think about what was written on the cross. I never doubted what I was walking for on the pilgrimage. It was right there in my hands. We started the walk on Sunday morning in Goldsboro, North Carolina, at Greenleaf Christian Church. Reverend Barber, pastor of the church and the president of North Carolina NAACP, prayed for us to have courage and be safe on our journey. Then we headed to the Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, where our group engaged in a creative protest of a military air show. Annie and Johnny, nomadic cyclists, also on the pilgrimage, explained the demonstration's intentions. We hope that people will realize that war is not something to be celebrated and that security cannot be found in military violence. The courage, creativity, and love that I saw in these people on day one assured me that this week would be one that I would treasure and definitely not forget. Day 2, we were in Burlington. We walked to the Alamance County Detention Center, where many undocumented immigrants are held. A demonstrator, dressed as an Immigration Customs Enforcement Officer, ICE, attempted to bring the Statue of Liberty into the detention center after our crowd of pilgrims accused Lady Liberty of being undocumented, since she was from France. Sometimes we would hear stories of people taking action to make their community a better place, and sometimes we heard stories that broke our hearts. One of the stories that really stuck with me was one that was shared when we walked in Greensboro. Someone told a story about a woman who had crossed the border with her 2 children. The coyote, who was supposed to take her across the border, sold her and her children into slavery. She became a sex worker and was only rescued after someone had called the cops while hearing her screams in a trailer park in North Carolina. She never found her children. We began day 3 in Winston-Salem, meeting with the Farm Worker Union Flock to discuss the struggle of North Carolina's tobacco pickers. We watched a great film about the grape strike and boycott led by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta in the 1960s, then walked to Reynolds Tobacco Building in downtown Winston-Salem to protest the complicity in the abusive farm labor system. On day 4 in Charlotte, we walked to the Sheriff's Department to deliver a letter asking them to end deportations. Following dinner with Caldwell Memorial Presbyterian Church, we were commended on our pilgrimage at a rally for Representative Luis Gutierrez, congressional champion of immigration reform. On day 5, we participated in a foot washing in front of the ICE Processing Center in Cary, North Carolina. In the evening, we walked through Chapel Hill to El Centro Hispano, where we learned about the struggles of undocumented youth, many of whom arrived in the U.S. as young children, yet today are denied access to higher education. On our last day of the pilgrimage, we walked for 7 miles to North Carolina's Woman Prison, where we held a prayer service for the women incarcerated, including those on death row. The economic justice way of the cross began at noon at the North Carolina State Capitol. This was a deeply moving prayer in both Spanish and English. I thought it was very appropriate that we walked in the rain. To me, it symbolized the tears of mourning that I and others have cried for those who have lost loved ones because of the unjust policies of the U.S. I can't talk about the pilgrimage without mentioning Gail Ferris, who founded the pilgrimage 25 years ago. I had the opportunity to walk and talk with her and learned about her inspiring and radical life journey. Even though the pilgrimage is over, I have not stopped walking for peace and justice. My eyes are wide open, and I have a stronger sense of direction.